This is Tuesday, April 1st. There are 114 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my god, I love Live Journal and my Live Journal loves me. Current movies, hyperactive, current music, refuge 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
And also joining us from the UBlog, Andy Wagner.
Howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing?
All right. So welcome to SDConCast. We'll be taking your comments and questions throughout the show. You can send them in. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con. Use the hashtag SDConCast. We'll also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So this is the WonderCon 2025 wrap-up show where basically we're just going to go over all the highs and lows, the hits and misses, the WTFs of the show. And then cover a little bit of Comic-Con news because that is starting to hit. So let's just get started. Where do you want to start, Carrie?
Well, I want to start with you two. So for anybody who doesn't know, I did not actually go to WonderCon this year. I live a little bit further away than you two, but you guys both went. So I just kind of want to know, first off, like what were some of your highlights for you of the con this year?
You can go first, Andy.
Okay. For me, it was getting talked to by Comic-Con. No, that's not true. But it is now fully known that among the staff that I am a member of the UBlog. Their concerns were raised, and
I think you were hiding that.
I wasn't hiding it, but you know, it happened to come out, so I'm all good there. But I would have to say, for me, the highlight was that peek behind the scenes, getting to see how things go, how WonderCon is run differently than Comic-Con, and how the different departments interact a lot more at WonderCon than they do at Comic-Con.
So again, I don't know how much you can say, so stop me if you don't think you're allowed, but like can you tell everybody like what department you work in?
Yeah, I am with the studio relations team. We're one of the behind the panel scenes. We basically get the talent from one place to another within the convention center itself, make sure that the studios have everything that they need to get themselves on stage and do what they are contracted to do at the convention center for that time. That, like you said, that does open me up to a lot of things that most people don't see or get to hear about. So a lot of things I do have to keep to myself. But ultimately, we are making sure that everybody behind the scenes at the panels is having as much fun as the people in front of the scenes, so that everybody in front of the scenes can have a good time too.
So did you volunteer the whole time, or did you get to experience much of the con like as an attendee?
They're actually really generous with the staff there. They tell us all that, hey, it's your con. If there's something that you really want to do, we will accommodate you. So for me, WonderCon is all about Artist Alley and small press and the exhibit hall. So I definitely got a few hours down on the floor. Obviously, not as much as I would have liked to. There were people that I missed, but there are a lot of people that I got to see, a lot of people I got to say hi to. So yeah, I got a chance to do everything I wanted to and get to help out at the same time.
Did you pick up anything that you were really excited about?
I would have to say I was able to get to yesterday's. I got the Lumen pin.
Nice.
And I was able to get the Lumen pin for you, Sarah, and everybody else who wanted it. There wasn't really a limit on it. So I was able to get that all at one shot. Other than that, there was so much brilliant art there. A lot of stuff that I almost could have justified to Carolyn to buy, but I was sent with explicit instructions that I still have over 40 things that haven't been framed yet. So I have to take it easy.
I get that. I get that on a very deep level. Books, I'm telling you, like if you buy like the portfolio books, you can put the artwork in that, and it's like your own little coffee table thing. And then you don't have to frame it. Like, great. That's been my solution. Now, granted, I now have like 10 portfolios, but it is a solution.
And it's an elegant solution. I like it.
There we go. What about you, James? What were some of your overall highlights for the con this year?
Well, I mean, I have to start off with being on a panel. That was a highlight. That was pretty fun.
Where's your nameplate?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
where's
my
your
nameplate.
placard?
Come on, man.
Beth, go get my nameplate.
Show us the goods.
It's on top of the colored things over there on the table. So I got to do that. That was a lot of fun. Got to talk a lot, bringing back so many memories from my brown coat days, and just hanging out with some people that I haven't hung out with in forever, and also needing probably about three more hours than we had in order to tell stories, which was a lot of fun. But I got one.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
That's the whole reason.
Now I just need to
It's
get
not
one
the whole
from
reason.
Comic-Con, so I have the Comic-Con logo on this
Yes,
side.
I know. I saw Dan Wiesenmeyer. He was like, I got the full set. And he posted like his Comic-Con and his WonderCon one.
And it has your name on the back in case you forget what your name is.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
Or so that the idiots who are on the other side of it can also see who's going where.
Yeah, so you can just sit in the right
Yes.
seat. Yes. I know that's what it's for, but it's funnier if it's so you can remember your
It
name.
is funnier. No, I love that for you, James. And I mean, I know Broncos was such a huge part of your life, so I think it's really cool that you got to celebrate that this
Maybe
year.
we'll do it again at Comic-Con, and I'll be able to go and get it then.
Yeah.
So, there you
Yeah.
go. So the other thing I got to do, that was on Friday. Saturday, I spent most of the day either in panels or walking the floor, mostly in Artist Alley, and saw a bunch of artists that do Lorcana cards, of course, because that's my thing. And I got 13 Lorcana
Jeez.
cards signed by the artists.
Oh my gosh. Including, I'm sure, Julie. We love Julie.
Julie, I don't need anything signed by.
Because you've already
because
gotten her.
I've already gotten hers. I got her at Comic-Con, I think, when she was there. But one fun story was Jenna Gray, the artist.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I know who that is.
She I went and got some signatures from her, and I gave her a few. I had bought a few boxes of the Japanese Lorcana cards, and there was a few commons in there from her art because she did first chapter. So I gave them to her, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I noticed you don't have any cards at all, like on your table or anything. So here, why don't you just have some so you can have some?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course. They're commons. They're like 10 cents max. It's not a big deal." So I was paying for the autographs, and the credit card machine was being funky. The phone wasn't connecting. The signal there was horrible that day. And I looked on my phone, and there was a charge there. So I'm like, "Hey, there's a charge. Hopefully it's all good."
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, it's all good." So, I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe I'll stop back tomorrow in case there's any issues." So I get home and I look, and the thing's disappeared. So I'm like, "Great." So I got some cash to make sure I had some cash to take to her the next day. I show up the next day. I'm like, "Hey, it disappeared. Here's the cash for the thing I owe." And she's like, "Well, thanks for actually stopping by." And she's like, "And by the way, hey, check this out." And she took one of the Japanese cards I gave her, and she did a doodle or a remark, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
of "Hey Hey." And she's like, "This is actually, was testing my pens. This is the first one I've ever done."
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And I went to hand it back, and she's like, "No, that's for you to keep."
Oh, I love that. She's really nice. My girlfriend actually got a commission from her a couple years back, so that makes me happy.
So I got her first ever doodle on a card, which I
I
think is
love
really
that.
cool.
That's
And it's
great.
Hey Hey, which is actually the mascot of the Lorcana offices is Hey Hey. It's pretty funny. So,
Cool. That's
and then
awesome.
continuing the Lorcana thing, I went to the Emperor's New Groove panel that closed down WonderCon at 4 p.m. on Sunday, and at the end of it, so all five of the panelists had worked on the movie. So I got all 5 of them to sign a different Lorcana card. So like a
Nice.
Japanese version of a variant, a foil, and then an enchanted. So I basically had a very successful Lorcana weekend, and in between all of that, I got to see some panels, walk around, do some prize drops, meet some people, and so it was basically just a very good, relaxed, fun convention.
And I mean, in reality, that's what WonderCon is and what it's supposed to be. Like, it has never been and will never be like San Diego Comic-Con. It is a much chiller experience. Like, you don't have to fight tooth and nail for anything. It's just easy. We
Yeah,
like
and
easy.
oh, I don't have it in front of me. I should make Beth get up for a third time to show it off. You get the comic that was in the same place. I
Don't
won.
do it, Beth.
I won the Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane 2 Legends signing.
Oh,
Yeah, so which was
oh,
awesome.
yeah,
So,
I did know that. Yes.
yeah. And now here's the crazy thing, in case you are not too deep into comics, but Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane have been in comics for almost 40 years professionally. Uh, Jim Lee now runs DC Comics. Todd McFarlane runs Image Comics and his own McFarlane Empire that does everything from comics to toys and everything in between. And they don't actually do many things together, believe it or not. There's a total of maybe 5 or 6 comics that they've done together, which is crazy to hear. And apparently, like, only 1 comic cover that they've ever done together. But this one was one of the very few. This is a Batman Spawn from a couple years ago. I found it at the show, thankfully, for $10. And it's a Jim Lee cover, and Todd McFarlane wrote and did the inks on the inside. So it is a book done by both of them, even though they didn't actually draw the same thing together. And I got that signed by both of them at the signing. It took me about 45 minutes because I got there early enough to where I wouldn't have to wait in line a long time for people to get through the line. So I got there early enough where I had to wait like 45 minutes and then about 15 minutes to actually get it signed.
Oh, yeah, that's like nothing. That's
Took like 10 seconds because they were just rushing people through. Everyone got one thing signed by each because they had a lot of people. And I think Todd had a panel like 45 minutes after the panel start or the signing started. He was busy. Todd McFarlane, let me tell you, he started the day like at 9-ish a.m. with those charity photo ops. He didn't finish until like 6 p.m.
Oh my God.
And
that is a long day. Yeah.
So
Also,
good for him.
Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Aaron on our team, who definitely helped you with some of that research on the comic.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, she was like I was trying to search for some, and she was helping me search. And there's like one. I was, if I had extra time, I would have actually probably bought a $25 comic, the Wildcats #1 from 2006. That I think they actually did the art on the cover, both of them. Like, one did the pencils and one did the inks.
Yeah.
Even though it's like just some random cover, it's like it's a variant. But I figure that, if you're going to get something signed by them, they better both have worked on it. Other people, of course, were smarter and brought their own books, like Spawn #1 and some X-Men comic, X-Men #1 that Jim Lee did. So they were smart and brought their own comics, but I had to find one because all my comics are in storage.
Funny. So let's just talk some general feelings about what we think WonderCon got right this year. What do we think WonderCon did well this year, just in general?
Well, I mean, from the attendee side of it, it feels like everything was fairly smooth. I didn't, run into any big hassles. There was no problems at panels. Most of the in fact, I think most of the panels were full to, never quite packed. So any panel you wanted to go to, you could. I think one of the only ones I heard of that actually filled up was Cartoon Voices.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been a very much like a recurring theme now for several years at WonderCon, is that, like, with very few exceptions, Cartoon Voices being one of them, you can pretty much walk into any panel.
But they were also well attended. So when I went to the Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, I was able to go for about half of it before I had to go get in line for the signature. The back of the room was fairly empty. I posted a picture on our Twitter, and most of that had filled in a bit. Even, I mean, of course, people were sitting every other seat or whatever, just to
Sure.
take, not sit next to people. But for the most part, the room filled up for them, and I thought that room would be packed.
I
So,
do.
it's just not, it's
It's
just
not a
not.
panel heavy convention.
And
Yeah.
and Elizabeth Bonilla in the chat says Science of Disney was pretty full, and yes, it was actually. I was there. That was very full. And so was the Emperor's New Groove panel right after that.
Yeah, Michelle Lee said X-Men fandom on Sunday was packed. That truly the two panels every year at WonderCon that I think are like the most packed are Cartoon Voices and X-Men fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was done well. I mean, honestly, there didn't seem to be any hiccups. So
Good.
I think that was just, a smoothly run show from the attendee side, it
Yeah.
seems like.
For sure. Well, we have a couple of positive things from Kim and Sean on our team that I was going to read. Kim, for anybody who doesn't know, is outside Comic-Con. The best of the convention for her was the Skeleton Crew kids for their antics and excitement for the show, and I heard nothing but fantastic things about that panel.
That panel was not on when we did our
No.
review, and I am so mad I did not go and look at the schedule again before I went, because I would have been there. I managed to only see the last 20 minutes, and they were a riot.
I was so happy. I don't know if you guys saw, but they yesterday's had some pens with their characters, and they were able to like go to that booth and get those. So that made me happy.
That was cool.
But another positive for Kim was Ronald D. Moore for his behind the scenes inside of show creation. She also liked the Browncoats fandom panel, the one and only James. And then she said, my child liked the Jack's Disguise panel because they got to wear Minecraft costumes. And then her other child liked the Aniplex panel and the excitement for Demon Slayer. And this is a big one to me as well, is that thank you, Comic-Con, for continuing to use Sked as opposed to other platforms that shall not be named. But thank you for splurging to continue to have Sked because it makes a world of difference. And then Sean had a couple. James, do you want to read some of his?
Sure. He had a good time at the show. No really big moments for a top moments of the year kind of list, but it just was consistent and solid. Healthier attendance seemed to return after last year's rainy con. The floor seemed lively most of the time without it ever feeling overwhelmed, and a good variety of types of vendors. Horror did good by WonderCon Anaheim with Clown in a Cornfield and Until Dawn, both having good panels with talent and footage. Until Dawn had a booth on the floor and poster giveaways. Toys did good also with Mondo, Nacelle, Jada, and others having a combination of booths, panels, reveals, and so on. And the comic list was strong with the aforementioned McFarlane and Lee, and also Mark Waid, Dan Slott, and a variety of others were there.
Yep. So before we get into a couple of things that we wish had been a little bit different, Andy, is there anything else you want to say about what really stood out at WonderCon this year?
Definitely the exhibit hall floor. I thought everything was run very, very well. There weren't any bottlenecks, hiccups. Fire marshals weren't complaining or had to be called or anything like that. And it was a really smooth experience. I got to work for the Until Dawn panel, and I got to walk with them as they went from the panel room down to the exhibit hall floor. And I can tell you guys that the cast, when they got that jump scare, when everybody jumped out of the booth behind them, they were not told about that. So their reactions were very, very genuine. So yeah, that was definitely fun to see. And other than that, everything was what I really can't say anything bad, not because I'm not supposed to, but because I think all in all, it went really well.
Good. Good. So let's talk about the couple of things that we do wish were a little bit different. James, is there anything that you wish had been different this year?
Well, I mean, the only minor inconvenience I had was when I went to go get my wristband for the signing on Saturday morning. There was absolutely no signage for it.
Yeah.
I wandered around the hall D where you get your badge, or if you're press, or if you're a panelist or whatever. And I just happened to see these random tables where it looked like people were handing out wristbands. So I went over there and I'm like, kind of just scoped it out, and I'm like, oh, hey, look, it's them handing out the things. And there was someone holding a sign 5 feet from the table that said, McFarland signing. And that was the limit of the signage, was 5 feet from the table.
Yeah,
And it was in
I
like the far side of the middle of the room, where you could not see it when you entered into the room at the big doors coming in.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing, is they just needed, unless I completely missed it, but I walked back and I tried looking for it and I did not see any. So
Well,
unless I missed something.
Well, speaking of signage and instructions, so we found out today that WonderCon 2026 badges are now on sale, which we'll talk about in a minute. But turns out they were also on sale over the weekend, and we at least certainly didn't know that they were selling them on site.
So I think
they didn't even tell us. If they did, they said something Sunday when I had already gone home.
We had multiple people tweet us today after that announcement. They were like, no, they were selling those like on Sunday at the con.
That used to be that used to be what they did for Comic-Con back when they did sell them on site, is they would put them up on sale on Sunday.
Yep. And then in 2011, the lines were so long that people were missing a full day of the con, and they never did it again. Yep. But yeah, so that's appears to be back for WonderCon, but it would have been nice if they had, like, I don't know, made an announcement. Maybe they did and we just missed it, but
I didn't hear anything.
Neither did I. I didn't see anything on the website. They didn't tweet anything, so I don't know.
Yep. So I wish that had been announced a little bit better. And then, was the fountain still closed all weekend?
Yes,
closed all weekend.
Okay, so I think that, I mean, that's not Comic-Con's fault, but I think that's definitely like a negative thing, because that's such a iconic space for that convention.
Yeah, it didn't seem to hinder anyone from going over there and getting photos, especially since they put up those. It didn't look ugly with like construction-y. They put up fake bushes all around it, so it looked at least greenish.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody else have any things that they wish were different before I read Kim's and Sean's?
I was going to touch on the signings a little bit more. As Elizabeth Bonilla pointed out in the chat, she says she saw me at the Mike Becker signing. And I just want to point out to people that those signings are run at the pace of the person who's signing. So the fact that Todd McFarlane is really fast, that's because he's fast, or that's because his people are telling him that he has to be fast. Nobody told Mike Becker to be fast. And Comic-Con and the volunteers, and we can't go up to him and say, hey, can you speed it up a little bit, dude? Come on, man, chop chop. They don't like it when we do that. So there were some people who were not terribly happy at the pace that the line was going, and as volunteers, we all wish that we could do better, and we would love for that person to sign everything and spend all their time with their fans and have it go quickly and efficiently. But it was supposed to end at 3 and it didn't end till 4:30. Thankfully, no one else had that room until Mike Becker again at 7:00. So it fortunately worked out. But yeah, if someone else had that room, we would have had to kick people out at 3:00.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think Comic-Con is usually pretty good about planning for things like that, and especially something like WonderCon, where there's very few signings that require a room. So I don't know. I think Comic-Con is also like, they've got it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were behind the scenes. We were on phones saying, "Hey, who's got this room next? How long can we be in this room? Do we have to kick people out? Please, God, tell us no." But yeah, we got lucky. We could stay in there. Everybody got their stuff signed. but it was slow, and we were just as frustrated as everybody else.
Sure, sure. Okay, does anybody else have anything?
Oh, and if anybody from like the actual autographs team is listening, when you're putting the wristbands on people, don't put them so tight. I mean, come on. I don't think their fingers had blood in them when I was cutting them off. But anyway, have a little heart, guys.
Okay, Kim's list of things that she wished had been a little bit different include more evening things to do. She said she really missed the take and paint offsite at the Hilton, which they did do, but last year they had evening classes and they didn't this year. And then she said, I think my wish for improvement would be some bigger panels, which I agree with. Like, we actually got more studio stuff than I expected this year at the convention, but we used to get like some decent movies and just some bigger stuff than what we're getting now.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. And a return of offsites. Minecraft opening this weekend would have been perfect. And the thing is like WonderCon never had huge offsites, but it used to have like some stuff outside. Like they did that thing for the Terror. We've even had a couple of screenings, and I realized that like there's not a good place for screenings anymore. But we've definitely have had stuff in the past, so it would be nice to see those come back. For Sean, James, do you want to read these?
Yeah, it's the now every whenever WonderCon and Comic Con happen, it's the lack of carpet.
Yep.
Definitely feeling it on my feet still after walking around for a couple of days. Hopefully it returns to Comic Con and WonderCon at some point. Whenever that may be. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And hopefully it does return and then doesn't go away for good. But that's the main thing. So obviously, Sean didn't really have a whole lot of complaints either.
Yeah. So I think overall, most people had a really good time at WonderCon. I will touch briefly on, it was a really interesting year watching it on Twitter because I mean, this is true at any con, but some people were saying they had their best year ever. Some people were saying they had their worst year ever. But I don't know. It just kind of felt from Twitter like it was one extreme for the other for exhibitors, which I found really interesting. But overall, attendees seem to have a really good convention. So
yeah, we have a couple comments in the chat. Michelle Lee says at Talkback, my daughter asked about the lack of furniture in the Anaheim Convention Center and no chairs and tables outside of panel rooms like they've had in the past. And they said that the convention center took all of the furniture. The only thing that we saw were the chairs in the main lobbies, and I think along the hallways over to north, there was usually some chairs and tables over in those spaces, and those were still there.
So okay, well, anything else we want to say about WonderCon?
Karen Session asked if I would do that again. I assume she's talking about being a staff volunteer, and the answer is yes. I've already told them I'm going to do Comic-Con this year. So, yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. So we'll see.
Awesome.
I don't think I really have much else to say about WonderCon. It was a fun show. I had a good time. I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
That's
all you need to say.
Right? I mean, that's what a convention should be. It should be a good time where you don't have too many hassles and you get the things, you buy the things you want, and you see the people you want to see.
All right. Well, then let's get into the bit of news that we've got, including, as we mentioned earlier, that speaking of WonderCon, you could already buy your badge for next year. This is go ahead.
And I think the interesting thing is that you can buy daily in addition to the weekend,
yes.
right? Which
that's true.
Yes. For the last several years when they've done this, and granted, it's been many years since they've done it this early, but for the last several years when they've done their early bird, it's been 3-day combined only. This year you can buy the 3-day combined, still has a discounted price, but if you just want a single day, you can still buy that right now. So the 3-day combined will save you a grand total of $21. If you do the early bird, you have until January 14th of 2026, which if you were interested to dig, surely you could purchase by then.
You got 8 months, people. 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months. Surely you can do that. Yes.
And that's the day before my 50th birthday.
Oh, that's well. There you
I'll buy
go.
a WonderCon badge in honor of Andy's 50th birthday.
Yes.
Yes, get yourself my birthday present and get yourself a WonderCon badge.
Right. That's right. So you can get those right now. Just log into your member ID. So yeah. But let's talk a little bit about another little convention. So the question on everyone's mind at the moment is, when is Hotel Apocalypse? I'm positive that many of you are watching this podcast or listening to it right now specifically for this discussion. Because as most of us know, once WonderCon is over, it is free reign for hotels. So they're doing things different this year, which we had kind of anticipated because they changed the name of the sale. This used to be typically Hotel Apocalypse was called the General Hotel Sale. Instead, it is now the Downtown Hotel Sale. And to go with that, it truly does appear to be now downtown only. That won't affect most of you because for the most part, I think people do only submit downtown, but there are definitely people who take part in Hotel Apocalypse who do try for further out. I mean, Sean on our team does. He likes to stay at a hotel in Mission Valley, but they still do Hotel Apocalypse every year. So if you were one of those people like Sean who like you didn't want to do early bird because you didn't want to prepay, but you don't want to stay downtown, your hotel sale will be the new general hotel sale, which is actually the live inventory sale. That will be at some point after Hotel Apocalypse, but first we have to get through Hotel Apocalypse. When is it? We don't know. Our best guess right now would be, well, it was April 16th, but I have since learned that the exhibitor hotel placements have been delayed a little bit. So I actually would not be surprised if that got bumped back like a week or two. So typically Hotel Apocalypse is on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So I would say anywhere from like April 15th all the way to like May 1st. I think any of those dates are pretty much fair game if they're Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we will just have to wait and see. But the list of hotels is at least out now, along with prices. You can take a look at that, and you know it's coming. We all know it's coming.
Start your all of your stress relief strategies. Start
Yes,
playing those
I'm
now.
already stressed.
Get your spreadsheets ready.
Okay, so again, once we know more, we'll for sure let you guys know. But in other Comic-Con news, we got 2 offsite announcements that came out of WonderCon, funnily enough, from the 2 former Funko folks. So let's start off with Thrilljoy. So Thrilljoy is from, I get the 2 Funko guys confused every single time. Which one is this? Brian Mariotti, the former Funko CEO. His company, Thrilljoy, they will be hosting the block party at Comic-Con. We don't know much about it. We know that it will be on Friday, July 25th. We don't know where. We don't know how many tickets. We don't know what it's going to be, but we know it'll be on Friday, July 25th. So tickets for this one have not gone up. We will have to wait and see. Now, I will say Thrilljoy did like a happy hour at WonderCon. Well, they did more than that. They did a pop-up that had a happy hour. And fans could like shop and connect. And then again, they had the happy hour. So it might be like a larger version of that. Or it might be something else entirely. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. And then Mike Becker's company, Funmaker, they also announced their own event called Dreams. And this one will be on Saturday, July 26th at the Wyndham San Diego Bayside, which is a little bit of a trek. But this one worked a little bit differently. We know that the event will have a capacity of 650 people. They did release a QR code in the panel. Now, we don't know if all 650 tickets were released with that QR code in the panel, but however many they did release, those sold out pretty much instantly. So we'll just have to wait and see if there are more tickets to be had on that event. Again, we don't have many details, but it will be on Saturday, July 26th.
All right.
Yes.
Interesting that they're doing these two different events. You wonder if they're going to be competing with Funko Fun Days. So there will be 3 similar events.
It could be. I will say now, I want to make it very clear that I have not heard it said officially in any capacity, but there have definitely been rumors that potentially there might be no fun days this year. Again, I'm not saying there is no fun days. That is definitely a thing that I have heard people speculate about. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. But if there's all 3 of them on one day, that'd be pretty interesting.
Well, it wouldn't be all 3 on one day
Oh,
because
so there's
World Joys Friday,
Okay.
Funmakers Saturday.
But Fun Days did go to 2 days, so
Correct. So it might be one up against Fun Days each day. So
crazy.
yes, it is. It is. I think it's going to be a very interesting Comic-Con. I think
It always is.
it always is, but I don't know. I just feel like we're very much in a year of like change, and I think a lot of the things that we're used to have happening, like I don't know. I just think we're in a transition period.
And Brian points out something that I think we did know, which is that the Bayside Wyndham was the former Best Western, which was the host for Fun Days back when it was
Yep.
back in the day.
Back in the day, that's right. Yes. So, yep. Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, that's some pretty good Comic-Con news.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten quite a bit actually of Comic-Con news lately. I do just want to mention, going back to WonderCon, that if you missed out on yesterday's pens, they are releasing some leftover quantity at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow on their website, including, I am told, a couple of the sold out pens. So,
and that tomorrow being April 2nd.
Yes.
For those who are listening to this.
Yes.
Another day.
Another day. If you are listening to this after April 2nd, you probably missed it. So.
April 2nd, 2025. All right, let's get really specific. I don't want to hear any complaints from anybody.
That's right.
You just invited complaints.
Yeah, I pretty much did.
All right. I think that's about it then. See, it's like the WonderCon, the show was like easy and smooth and so is this podcast, nice and short and to the point.
Look at us. Look at us.
Carrie, do you want me to mention commissions?
You can, yeah, go for it.
Believe it or not, we already have a couple of artists who have opened up their Comic-Con commissions for 2025. So if you go on our site, just do a search on commissions, you will find a post for 2025 already up. So you can order a couple.
Yes, and we greatly appreciate you doing that. Chad in the chat asked, have you decided when Concast will start? It'll start same time it always does, which is the first week of May.
Yep. Which I have a note for when that is. I will get to that after Carrie talks about a few things.
Okay, so for some housekeeping notes, if you appreciate the work that we do have a Patreon, and we're gonna have some more exclusive options this year for Patreon, which does not include the Discord. Let me make that very clear. The Patreon's like Discord has absolutely nothing to do with the Patreon. We don't love the Discord. Just asking about the Discord, they get nothing first. They get everything last. Friendship bracelets. We are bringing friendship bracelets back. So I really hope that you guys will join us again in making some. So, because we at least had tons of fun doing that last year, and we'll be doing the meetups again as well. And then, as always, Prize Mule will return.
And that just returned, if you're watching.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh yeah, about your trip. Starting May 6th, the next season of SDConCast will start. That is the first Tuesday in May. So we will start then. We will go every week until Comic-Con. We will have our special breaking down the schedule part 1 and 2 podcasts. And of course, we will have our Comic-Con wrap up after the show. And that will be our 2025 season of Concast. So we're looking forward to it. We're gonna start lining up some guests. We're gonna get some people in. We're gonna talk about exclusives. We're gonna do all the usual stuff.
Right. Okay. You can sign up for a newsletter. We are not sending them out right now, but we will at some point before the convention starts. TBD.
Soon.
All right. So again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in and listening or watching. Andy, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find my Comic-Con coverage on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of good stuff at SDCC Wacky Wags. And for those who are a little bit more adult, I do cannabis coverage as well at SDCannablogger. Carrie, where can we find more of you on the internet outside of at SD_comic_con?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie Dixon. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere online at Dan Regal. Thank you to Beth, our producer, for putting this together and getting it into your ears, and all the things that get this podcast finished.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio, and the link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at info@sdccblog.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at SD_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody go Gadget Swarma!